if your root cause analysis keeps pointing to that guy pushed the wrong button or she put the wrong materials on the line, you are messing up your root cause analysis. It is not giving you anything. You're just documenting the problem, not the actual solutions. So let's dive into that. Hello, I'm Tom. Welcome to my channel where we make operational excellence practical. And let's talk a bit about what I see going wrong in root cause analysis so often to make sure you do not make that mistake. And hopefully you can even help others in your team. You can send them the video or you can train them yourself based on what we are going to be discussing today. Now, when I say you are going to have a root cause like he pushed the button too early, well, that is not the root cause. That is maybe, probably part of what happened somewhere. But that really sounds like the thing that literally happened. Right? The thing that literally happened, it is a cause, yes. It's a very direct cause to the problem. But what actually went wrong, right? So what we want to do is, before we get the cause, we want to know what really happened. See, that we pushed the button, maybe, right? Maybe you've done your initial investigation. You already know that there was no problem in the planning, that was not a machine error. You did a couple of things. But if you want people to chip in, you need them to understand, before we get into this sort of brainstorming of what it could have been, what is the bloody problem? And this definition of the problem, the word's not there for nothing. We can call it a problem description, but defining it is really about what specifically happened. When did it happen? Who was involved? Where on the line, right? How much product? How did the direct chain of events lead up to it? All kinds of things. So we look at it from multiple angles so that we get good clues as to what it may have been. Because that thing, he pushed the button too early, maybe you're correct. Right? I'm not saying this is wrong. I am saying there is quite a good chance that it is not the correct answer, that it is not the most important answer. There is a very good chance that you are overlooking things, that you're simplifying stuff. And if the person, because usually I trust you enough that somebody else, one of your production colleagues, comes to you and says, well, Harry pushed the button too early and now we got cleaning fluids all over our product. Something like that, right? You're going to believe them. Do check what specifically happened. Can they describe what happened, if it was the first time, where did it happen, which phase of the process? If they have no clue, they have also not investigated the problem. So start with that. And then when we get to these causes, multiple, because this is which things could have happened. What did we see happen? What did you also check? Then at some point, you're going to say, right, now that you have checked multiple things, I am happy with you going from the plural back to a singular cause. Okay, maybe it even was Harry pushing the button when he wasn't allowed to. But if we're going to fix that, right, how are we going to do that? Are we going to retrain Harry? Are we going to fire him and hire somebody else in hopes that they are much more secure workers? You already feel that that's not a true solution. And it's not a true solution because apparently something already went wrong. Now, if Harry truly wasn't trained, and sorry if you're Harry, I'm not talking about you, this is just an example. But if Harry wasn't trained, but he was at the line, well, there is a different thing going wrong. So, and you know where I'm going with this, right? From the causes, we want to get to what was underlying there. And the root cause, it is a tree of root cause. I made a couple of videos on that, one quite recently, where I say, well, you should have not just one single root cause. That is a big red herring. You should have at least 3 causes, which is the direct cause, sort of an intermediary, what happened that caused this, but then also your organizational root cause. That too, that is a key thing. And go look at my 5 tips for 5 whys. Go look at my why root cause is a red herring. Go look at many other videos that are out there, not just by me, on how do you really do that deepening of the process. Now, I know some people don't like the 5 why. Honestly, I do think people that don't like 5 why don't like it because they're not doing what comes before. It's not the full system. 5 why is not the complete system. It's part of problem solving. But if you don't like 5 why, go for a good fault tree analysis. Go for a timeline that you then deepen. Although honestly, I think a timeline is sort of a problem definition tool, not really a cause analysis tool. But really, the precise tool that you take isn't even that important. What you need to do is you need to get into that habit, into that discipline of always defining what is the problem, then listing a couple of possible problems, right? Causes, direct, fundamental causes to that problem, and then pick the most important, the most likely, or maybe the only one that turned out to be true, though often a couple of those potential like primary causes, they can all be true. So at some point you just have to pick, well, these things sort of usually happen. That is the one that we're going to investigate. And then you dive into what's underneath it. Right? What is the mechanism that allows it to work? And what's the organizational problem that allows that mechanism to even start up and not be detected? Super important, because now that you have a root cause, again, and this is where so many companies fail, when we have a root cause, you document it, and then what are you going to suggest? Some countermeasures. But if it is just suggesting, because very often what do I see in companies? We got clear root cause analysis, problem definition. Okay, let's even go to the better companies. Clear problem definition, a nice analysis. We got to some root causes that are ingrained in the organizational culture. So now we have to set up a full standardization system, get a training system in place, get personnel planning to be linked up to the training so that we never have untrained people at the line. We'll have a process audit system to check if people are actually following those predefined standards that we still have to define, right? It's a good list of countermeasures on paper. That's not going to work. Now, I am not saying that they were bad ideas. I am saying that they are unrealistic. Your job as a professional in your team, in your company, or as a consultant, I do this quite a lot, right? I get into a business, and when designing the countermeasures, I also think about, is it realistic? And I want you to do that same thing. So going for 80%, going for good, right? Not perfect, but good, but implementable. It trumps perfect theory 100%. It is so much better to get a good step in the right direction. So when you design your countermeasures, you need to know this causal tree. You need to know what were the primary causes, the underlying causes, the root causes, so that you can act on different levels. You need to know what your organization can do, and then you suggest those countermeasures. You implement them in such a way that they become part of your organization. Now, it's almost as if I see companies fail on each of these levels. Unfortunately, that is true. You need to, when you implement it in such a way that your operation will sustain it. As long as you are the one that needs to be checking that the countermeasures are in place, that the new standards are being kept, that you order materials at the correct time, that there is a buffer in your control screens and what have you, all kinds of things. As long as you are checking those things, it's not sustainable. As long as it did not become a daily habit for your production team, it's not sustainable. So that is how you set up root cause analysis. Root cause analysis is not just diving into or discussing with two colleagues what really happened here and what went wrong. It is looking for a countermeasure that you can sustainably implement that will seriously, significantly affect, preferably eliminate, parts of the causal chain that caused a clearly defined problem. That is how we set up RCA. So when I train people in root cause analysis, I don't want to train people in just 5 why. It's a great tool, don't get me wrong, it's part of my standard toolkit. As I said, it's not the only part, but it is a go-to for me, but not in isolation. Now, it is part of a system. Also, well, let's round it out anyway. There's a couple things you see. I left a little bit of space that was not completely for nothing. You need to be doing this with people who understand the process. Now, I don't know about your organizations, but it's very rare to have one person who understands all aspects and has got the correct information. And even then, quite honestly, they need it to be challenged. So they at least need a facilitator or a challenge or a reality check. So that is why it is so important to get some people together. You form a multidisciplinary, preferably team. You form a team of people that are not immediately like-minded, that bring different experience and different knowledge to the table. And it's really fine, and that might very often be your role, to even be there without the experience or the knowledge of the problem or the process, but the thinking skills, the challenging skills, the facilitation, making sure that this reality check is being done. And that is because, as we started the video, I see these RCAs go wrong so often, and then you waste a lot of time documenting a problem and some problem caused, not really doing anything about it. You probably will also document what you should have done but still have not done, and nothing changes, doesn't change the needle. Now, there is one extra blank space, and for viewers, longer-term viewers of the channel, you'll probably know where I'm going now. Specifically when we're problem solving, things need to change quickly. This is not a planned longer-term improvement team. This is we need to react now and then fix the situation better. We have some temporary countermeasures. And the temporary measures, they are over here, because as soon as you have truly defined your problem, you know so much more of what happened that very often, I would say about 7 or 8 times out of 10, not even every time, but very often, it is a great moment to just put a couple of stop the bleeding actions in place. There is a risk. There are definitely people, colleagues, basically of mine, right? Good thinkers in the same operational excellence, continuous improvement space that will tell you this is a big risk, that will not have it in their roots. That is because the risk is that managers see this working and priority is gone. Right? If you do that, you have again whacked your RCA system. You did not do an RCA that improves your operation if you don't also do that second half. But why do I keep it in? When I train companies on this, I do always say you don't want to do too many RCAs. A production department, I would say, can generally handle about 3 of these at the same time, with the safety department maybe also handling 1 or 2, and with the technology department maybe also handling 2, so that at the same time. So we're still at a maximum of around 6 or so for a department, just divided over different teams, and you can even split up what production does more on the mechanical, more on the quality side if you really want to, but I wouldn't go into that level of detail. A quality engineer can be a very good facilitator for a mechanical technical problem, as a maintenance engineer can also be a good facilitator for a quality problem. You just need to make sure that the pure quality management skills are in that team and the pure maintenance mechanical skills are in such a team. So resource-based, but limited. Why limited? Because those teams need to get through this. And when you are a manager, or like a CI manager or CI lead, assisting management in performance meetings that also do the correction on the performance, right? So if you have any performance meeting, you would like process performance, real performance, output performance, and then acting on the deviations by doing this. These are also the steps that you want to track. Ask anyone who heads up an RCA, who's your team? That is basically your question 1. Then, have you defined your problem? I want to know a very clear definition, understand what happened, before you move on to all kinds of things. Did we put any temporary measures in place? Do you need some extra control resources right now, some stuff to check, some backstops? Then I want to know what you see going wrong in the process. I want you to analyze the root causes. Now, this is a big 4, a little bit divided into an A and a B. I think that these two, depending on the problem, warrant separate presentation to the rest of the team, or you can just continue. But within the root cause analysis team, so not the production management team, but the root cause analysis team, separated. You need to have causes, eliminate until you have 1, maybe 2, and then you dive into the root causes. Then give me a plan of the countermeasures that we're going to implement. With timeframes, with reality check, and we're going to put an OK here. Super important, right? The management team, production management, is going to put an OK and probably resources, maybe money, but definitely time and attention into it. So get that approved. And finally, you make sure and report out because of that, right? So as the production management, you also demand that any RCA team reports to you how did they really embed it into the operation and to the production process control systems, right? The operational self-checking system. Well, if we have that, those 6 steps, then we get to my problem-solving template, which you can download for free. You also get to way more explanation on this if you take my problem-solving course, or as quite a number of companies have already done, the best learning really happens when we go over this interactively. I'm happy to come to your company. We can also do it online. And I guide people through this and coach afterwards also. I love doing that, and it's getting great results for companies who really want to not be blaming Harry for pushing the button at the wrong moment, but be fixing their own operational systems in a realistic way, right? We prioritize which steps the company can actually take. I know what the end situation, should probably look like, but we need to get there, right? It needs to stay realistic. And that way, your root cause analysis will actually help improve your organization. Wouldn't that be great, right? No more wasting of time on just documenting problems and superficial root causes, but really making steps, even small steps, but consequent higher and higher steps to improving your business. And that is something I get a lot of energy from. I hope you do. If you like this explanation, don't forget to hit that like button. But if you have also questions on this or want my help with this, definitely get in contact with me. Can be in the comments, can be by mail, or just call me. I am happy to help with this. For now, I wish you the best of luck with your root cause analysis and stopping to waste your time. And as always, don't forget to also enjoy the continuous improvement journey.